Welcome to Module 3. Here we're going to learn how to build artifacts and skills inside Claude to level up the tool. This will start making your knowledge and your tools reusable. So you just got a perfect response from Claude. Your cash position summary is exactly how you need it. The numbers are right, the analysis is spot on. So you copy it, paste it into Word, reformat the table, fix the headers, adjust the font, add your company logo, and finally send it out. That's 20 minutes of formatting work, after the AI already did the hard part. That is what artifacts solve. So what is an artifact? An artifact is a self-contained output that lives outside of the Claude chat window. It renders as its own document. It's formatted, structured, and ready to share. In the chat, you see the conversation and the back and forth. In the artifact panel, you see the deliverable. No export, no reformatting, it's already there. What can an artifact be? Formatted documents, structured tables with real data, interactive HTML trackers that you can click through, decision frameworks with embedded logic. The format depends on what you ask for. You tell Claude you want a one-page daily cash position report. Claude generates it as a formatted artifact. You ask for a compliance check with a summary block and an exceptions table. Claude builds that structure automatically. The tool adapts to the job. Now in Treasury work, artifacts shine in specific places. Daily cash position reports that go to your CFO or controller. Compliance check summaries where you're flagging exceptions against the investment policy. Decision frameworks with threshold logic built in. Is this investment authorized or not? One-page briefings that need to look the same way every single day. When a stakeholder opens it, they see a document, not a chat transcript. That matters more than people admit. When not to use them? Quick lookups, exploratory questions, anything you're going to rework completely anyway. If you're asking Claude whether you should buy Treasury bonds, that's a chat question. If you're asking for a formatted investment recommendation memo with your analysis, thresholds, and signature block, well, that's an artifact. And how do you trigger an artifact? Well, you don't need a special command. You just tell Claude what you want. Generate a formatted one-page cash position report as an artifact. Claude handles the rest. You don't have to say anything magic. Now, the more specific you are about the format and structure, the better the artifact will be. But you're not really doing anything much differently in the conversation. You're just being a lot more clear about the output. Here's the core question that tells you when to use artifacts. Would I forward this to my CFO? If the answer is yes, use an artifact. If you're exploring, asking a question, thinking out loud, a regular chat response is fine. But anything that's going to someone else, anything that needs to look professional and consistent, anything that's a deliverable rather than a conversation, that's an artifact. Now let's ground this in the F9 Finance coffee shop. You have 3 locations: Astoria, Hell's Kitchen, Lower Manhattan. Each location has 4 accounts: operating checking, merchant settlement, payroll, reserve, and savings. Each day, those accounts have different balances. Your operating checking in Hell's Kitchen might be $264,000 one day and $251,000 the next. You could ask Claude for a summary and get a wall of text. Or you could ask it for a structured one-page artifact with a table for each location, status indicators, and a 1-paragraph commentary. You get something that looks like it was built in Word without opening Word. That's the shift. You're not formatting, you're describing. Claude is handling the document. Now, in the next 2 sections, I'll walk you through building 2 artifacts that you use immediately: a daily cash position report and a compliance check against your investment policy. Both follow the same logic. Specify the format, give Claude the data, describe what you want, and the artifact renders in front of you. Then, you iterate if you need to, or you download it and send it out. The daily cash position report is the single most common Treasury deliverable. It goes to the CFO. It goes to the controller. Sometimes it goes to the board. It needs to be right, and it needs to look professional. This lesson builds exactly that. We're going to assemble a prompt that Claude will turn into a formatted artifact. For this, the prompt will have 4 pieces: role and context, data, task, and format requirements. Let's go through each one. Role and context first. You're a Treasury analyst at the F9 Finance coffee shop. The company has 3 locations: Astoria, Hell's Kitchen, and Lower Manhattan. Your job is to summarize the daily cash position across all 3 locations. This context tells Claude what language to use, how to think about the data, and what matters to you. Data comes next. You're going to include the balances for all 3 locations for all 4 accounts as of the end of one day and the beginning of the next day. With that information, Claude will have everything it needs. Now, the task is clear. Generate a 1-page daily cash position report as a formatted artifact. That's all Claude needs to hear. 1 page, formatted, ready to send. Format requirements make it specific. A status header at the top with the date, total cash across all locations, and the number of exceptions flagged. A table with columns for location, account name, current balance, minimum threshold, and status. And then an exception section that lists anything below or near the threshold. Finally, a 1-paragraph commentary in analyst language. No hedging, no fluff, just what the numbers tell you. And here's where the logic comes in. By giving the thresholds, you've built it right into the artifact. Any account below its minimum threshold shows red, any account within 20% shows yellow, anything above that shows green. For example, Astoria Operating has a minimum of $100,000. The balance is $185,000, and that's well above the minimum. Green. All accounts on day 1 are green. So the status header should show 0 exceptions. The exception section should be empty. The commentary should reflect that the company is healthy across all 3 locations with no concern. So we paste that prompt into Claude, we hit submit, and artifact renders in the artifact panel. It's a formatted document with the header block, the table, the empty exception section, and the commentary. It looks professional. It looks ready to go. Now, what do you do if the commentary isn't quite right? What if it's too chatty? Well, you don't need to rebuild the whole artifact. You can give Claude a revision instruction. Rewrite the commentary section in past tense analyst language. Keep the table and exception section unchanged. Claude can edit the artifact in place. The table can stay exactly the same, the exceptions stay the same, and the commentary changes. Now that's iteration. You're not starting over, you're fixing the one thing that didn't land. So here we are back in Claude Desktop. Now, so far we've gone through projects, and now we're going to come down to the next button right here, which is our artifacts. Now, I also mentioned we can build artifacts directly in the chat, but I want to show you this artifacts tab because this is where you can save artifacts. And also, if you know you just want to build an artifact, you can kick one off. I've got a couple of examples built here. I've got a monthly review memo generator that I've worked with and a live budget review app. Now, these were built just as artifacts. I didn't go into chat, but let me orient you to what the screen here looks like, because this is the same experience you'll have in chat. The traditional chat window goes on the left side. Now, when you build an artifact, it's going to walk us through the artifact creation process, but you'll get the same result in chat, and it's going to look just like this. The difference is you'll have this live budget review app and an interactive artifact. So the regular chat window is over here with all the same features we've been learning, but over here on the right, this is where you're going to find the artifact. Now, the cool thing is we're able to publish these artifacts. That's why you see me having the budget review here. If you're on a regular subscription, you can share it publicly. Probably don't want to do that with financial data, but if you're on a team or enterprise subscription, you can share these artifacts with anyone on your team. And that makes this a really dynamic way to standardize your processes and get them out there. Now, this all looks really nice and pretty, but it's actually essentially a fully coded application or document or Excel file, whatever you've asked for. In this case, it's actually a mini application. And if I come over, don't pay attention to the code. You don't have to write any of this, but this is all of the work Claude is doing on your behalf. It's really sitting back here and generating a Word doc, generating an Excel file, writing code for a mini application. And that's the power of these artifacts. So with that, let's come back to the chat. So for our first example, we're going to build the cash position artifact, and I'm going to show you how to do this with chat. For our second example, when we do the investment policy, I'm going to do that through the artifacts tab so you can see both processes. So let's go ahead and get started here, and we're going to dictate in a prompt. So let's say you're a treasury analyst at the F9 Finance coffee shop. The company operates 3 locations, and I'm going to give you financial data, bank balance data, and thresholds for all 3 locations. Your job is to produce an artifact of a cash position report that can summarize and visualize the cash balances across all 3 locations at the end of the day. I'm expecting a standardized 1-page daily cash position report that will look the same even as I give you additional data day after day. Now, from a formatting standpoint, I want to think about things like a status header, just showing high level what's going on, what the date is, all of those things. I'd like a table with columns by each location. It could have a drop down to change between the locations. It could just have a table for all 3 locations, whatever is easiest. I want you to flag with colors the status. If it's totally in the clear, green. If it's risky, yellow. If it's absolutely missing a threshold, red. I then want you to have an exception section and some commentary, all written in clear, direct analyst language. So here's our statement. We've hit on our role and context. You're a treasury analyst at a coffee shop. We're giving background on the company. We're going to attach our data in a moment. I've given it the task of a cash position report, and then I've given it some guidance on formatting. Now, it's great to talk in here. You don't have to be too fancy. You can give more context as you do the initial prompt by talking, and that works out really well. Now, we'll go ahead and add the data that we promised it. So I'm going to give it our 2 days of bank data, and then I'll do it our thresholds, just like we've seen before. We'll attach those. Once they're all showing as attached, we'll go ahead and hit send. We'll let Claude do its magic. So it's pulling in the file reading skill so it can go in and read the Excel files. All right, it's going in to read all of the Excel files. It's got the data, and now it's going to go grab a design skill to design the artifact, and it's going to build this for us. Again, we opened up a regular chat. You're going to see it in a little bit as it works. It's going to convert to that view of the side-by-side chat and the artifact panel, just like when we started from the artifact panel. So you can get to that either way, either starting from artifacts or by opening up a chat and saying, I want you to build an artifact. All right, and here Claude has come back with our artifact. So you'll see on the left side, it's converted this into the chat window. On the right side is the artifact. Now you'll see here it says HTML. It says here open in Google Chrome. It decided to build this as an HTML dashboard to make it as reusable as possible. Now it's really cool. Remember, we gave it 2 days of data. You've got the 2 different days here, all with the same format. That's really cool. We've got our cash positions. We've got our summary down here. It decided to put all the locations on one chart and just put them side by side. That's a very nice view. Here's our exception log on the day where there's an issue. And then here's all of our analyst commentary. Note it even added our coffee shop, a confidential logo, and the date it was generated. So this is a fully baked artifact. And this is why this really matters. Tomorrow, you'll get another day of balances, different numbers, maybe something shifts back towards the thresholds. Maybe that something shifts in the positive direction. You simply have to attach those new numbers to the artifact, hit submit. The artifact will regenerate in the exact same format, same structure, same columns, same logic, same analyst voice, but with today's data. Now that takes 30 to 60 seconds. No reformatting, no rebuilding the table, no copying and pasting from Word. 90 seconds and you have a professional report that's ready to share. The consistency is the real win. Every daily position report looks the same. Same header, same table structure, same commentary style. Your CFO knows exactly what to expect when she opens it, and that builds trust. Now with this, you have a working deliverable. In the next section, we're going to build a compliance check that follows the same discipline. It's going to be different data, a different structure, but the same principle. Build it once, run it with fresh data, iterate.